Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at Deoxys V-STAR, which is one of the V-STARs that was revealed to be in a high-class deck in Japan. Along with the Zeraora, of course, both Deoxys and Zeraora got V-STARs and VMAXs. But I actually think that the Deoxys V-STAR is pretty good. Like, this card is just really, really solid. And when I first saw it revealed, I was like, this card is nothing special. We've had a couple bland V-Stars that just aren't that good. And that's what I thought Deoxys was. But then I looked at it closer and just thought about it a little bit more, and I realized that Deoxys V-Star is actually like really, really solid. Like it just seems like a just overall really good card. And part of the reason is just because you have Deoxys VMAX as well. And I'll get to that in a minute later in the video. But let's just hop right into the list, starting out with Deoxys V. Gonna be honest, this guy is nothing special. His first attack and second attack are pretty underwhelming. I'm not going to read them to you. They're just not good attacks. The only really reason you're going to be playing Deoxys V is to evolve into the V-Star, of course. But the V-Star is really, really good. It has two attacks, one of them being a V-Star attack. The first attack for Psychic Colors deals 190 damage, and then 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon V. Now with a choice belt, that 190 damage turns into 220 damage. And now we're getting somewhere. 190 damage is just short of hitting some really key numbers, but 220 damage is the exact number. So not only are going to be one-shotting every single evolving Pokemon V in the game, you also are going to be dealing 60 damage to a V-Star or a V that will evolve into a V-Star on the bench, and set it up for a knockout with the Psy Javelin, which is the attack name, later down the line. Because if you hit a V for 60 and then hit it for 220 when they come to the active, that's going to be all add up to 280, which is the key number for knocking out Pokemon V-Star. So all around, just a really, really good card. But the V-Star Power makes this card even better. Star Force for a single Psychic Energy. It deals 60 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. So, say you have 3 energy onto yourself, 2 energy on, say, Oranguru V Palkia, on your opponent's side, and you're straight up hitting 300 damage, which is really, really good. That's just 300 damage is a good amount of damage, I should say. And the fact that it costs 1 Psychic Energy makes this a really, really nice way to just, if you're like set up one Deoxys and then don't have enough time to set up a second one while that one's attacking, then you just have a nice 1 energy attack option that can really also hit some like really, really high numbers. You don't even need energy in your opponent's active. If you just have 3 energy on yourself, attach double turbo energy, which you do play in this list, you're hitting 280 just with 0 energy in your opponent's active. So this V-Star Power is really, really good for one-shotting things. Do not underestimate that attack. It has a lot of different uses and a lot of different times in the game where it's good. And now, of course, moving on to the VMAX, because Deoxys VMAX is a thing as well, and this is the V-Star. I think it's really cool. The regular V is the regular form of Deoxys. The V-Star, I believe, is the speed form of Deoxys, and the VMAX is the defense form of the Deoxys. And perfectly suited to the defense form, it has an ability called Protection DNA that says your Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon V-Star. And there only really is one good VMAX in the format, and that is Mew. But the majority or remaining part of the format is like 90% V-Stars. So this Deoxys almost says just take 30 less damage. And that's just like good. We've seen that with Full Metal Wall. We've seen that with Metal Goggles. Just a nice way to take less damage. And this, of course, boosts your 270 HP Deoxys up to essentially a 300 HP Deoxys. But if you're getting two-shot by most things because of the ability, well, then it actually is technically 330 HP Deoxys. And so this not only does it increase your HP, but because it's just the 270 HP is kind of low, and you really can't buff that with a big charm because you're going to have a choice build attached most of the time. Well, here comes the Deoxys VMAX, able to give you that little bit more HP as well as having that choice belt on. So you can increase your own HP, increase your damage output, and then the actual attack on the VMAX is not that bad either. Your Psychic 2 Colorless, Max Drain 160, and you heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. And that's actually not a bad attack. It essentially costs 2 energy with the double turbo energy, so it's a pretty quick attacking option actually. And with the double turbo energy, it's reduced to 140, which will two-shot VSTARs. So not only does it also takes the tornado damage from the V-Star, so if you actually are attacking with the VMAX, it will heal itself too, because the max drain does heal 30. So if you're two-shotting a V-Star, you'll also be healing yourself in the process. So just actually the Deoxys VMAX not only does it have a great ability, also has a great attack, and not a bad attacker. Just overall, really, really solid card, the Deoxys VMAX. Going with the rest of the list, 2 copies of Zacian V. And the reason we're playing 2 copies of it is because this is the way we're powering up our Deoxys V-Star, our initial Deoxys V-Star. Is with the Roar of the Sword, you can Roar the Sword, or turn 1 ideally you're going attach return, Psychic Energy onto the Deoxys V, and then Roar the Sword onto the Deoxys V. And then the next turn you attach the 3rd energy to start swinging with the Side Javelin on the Deoxys V-Star. But if you get only a Zacian V, if you only have access to a Roar the Sword turn 1 onto a Deoxys V, or you only have access to a turn attach and no Roar the Sword onto a Deoxys V, that's fine. You can just find the double turbo energy, attach Deoxys, and evolve that Deoxys V that you would have evolved into the V-Star into a VMAX. That's another just really, really solid option. But of course, our ideal attacker is going to be the Deoxys V-Star. That's why we have the 3 of that. But we still have the Deoxys VMAX. Just these 2 cards really complement themselves really nicely, actually. And going to the rest of the list, 2 copies of Crobat V, and this is going to be our main draw engine. You can play a barrel version, which I also am definitely going to try out the barrel engine, but I'm kind of more aggressive version with Crobat and Marnie and Research is the version that we're going over here today. So just 2 Crobat V, just solid draw. Then we have a couple 1-up Pokemon. Now the first one might be a little bit weird, and that's 1 copy of Oranguru V. And if you don't know what this card does, I do not blame you because it has seen literally 0 play. And it has the ability Back Order that says once in your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you get to search your deck for 2 tool cards and put them in your hand. And the way this is going to be useful is you can search your deck for an Air Balloon and a Choice Belt. So you can guarantee yourself the Choice Belt for your Deoxys and an Air Balloon to retreat it out of the active, and it's a pivot to find another Choice Belt if you need for a second Deoxys, and so on and so forth. It's just a really, really solid way to consistently find that Choice Belt because we only have 2 Crobat, no Barrel. So we don't have as much continuous draw as a Barrel build would. And also the Oranguru V has the Psychic attack that does 30 damage and 50 more for each 30 more plus 50, 30 damage plus 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. And we do play double turbo energy in this deck, so it can attack, and it's actually not that bad. Like a 50 multiplier is pretty good actually. So the Oranguru V, solid ability and can do some solid damage too. Then we have 1 copy of Diancie, and this is for if you really, really need to attack with a Deoxys V-Star before you attack with the Deoxys VMAX, or just a Deoxys VMAX is just a bad attacker for some reason. If you miss both the attach return and Roar the Sword turn 1 instead, turn 2 you can just go into a Deoxys, not evolve, and Roar the Sword again to get more energy in play. And it's just a nice way to retreat and kind of recover energy if you need in the middle of the game to just after Deoxys gets knocked out and you're like, wait, I just need some time here to regain my board state and regain stability in the game. Then you can just retreat the Diancie for a turn, Roar the Sword, gain some more energy. That's just a solid option. And double draw, 20 draw 2, pretty solid attack as we've seen already this format. And then we have 1 more card that's going to be 1 copy of Mew, just Mysterious Tail, really solid. And you can just attach the Air Balloon to it. It's a nice little pivot if you're finding your Choice Belts. You don't need that Oranguru V. Going into the supporters in the deck, 4 copies of Marnie. There's shouldn't be much to say here. Marnie, just a good card, good way to draw. Then we have 2 copies of Research as well. And of course, more just solid draw. Like I said, this engine, we're not running the barrel. We're running more kind of aggressive Crobat draw supporter engine. So the 4 Marnie, 2 Research. And we have 1 copy of Raihan. And to just, power up our Deoxys after one of them gets knocked out. And then 1 copy of Boss. And the reason we don't have 2 copies of Boss is because our Side Javelin hits 60 on something, which means usually if it's a V-Star and it comes to the active, you're just going to be knocking it out. And so you don't need to boss too much. We have escape ropes in this list too, so if you're want to, you can just escape rope, and it can essentially be like a switch sometimes. But the one boss and 2 escape rope, because you hit the damage onto the bench, that's all you're really going to be needing. Going into items, 4 copies of Quick Ball, 4 copies of Ultra Ball, and 4 copies of Fog Crystal. And just as you can see, just search out that we want to find our Pokemon turn 1. We have the 4 Fog Crystals, so we can get the attachment return and the Word of Sword turn 1 as well. Just search engine that we need to have in the deck for it to function. Like I mentioned, escape rope, 2 escape rope, 2 escape rope. Because you're going to be hitting the damage on the bench, you don't need to boss too often. You can just accumulate damage on the bench if your opponent doesn't want to send something up. So yeah, 2 copies of escape rope. We have 1 copy of Battle VIP Pass. Once again, we want to find our basics turn 1. Battle VIP Pass will help us do it. Ideally, we can get like 3 Deoxys V out turn 1, so we can evolve 1 to a VSTAR, 1 to a backup VSTAR attacker, and then 1 to a VMAX to reduce that damage. And Battle VIP Pass can help us get those Deoxys Vs out turn 1. And the reason we're not playing 4 is that 4 is a little bit too much. We want to be able to freely Crobat and not have like cards stuck in our hand. But 1, we can like start Mew and like Mysterious Talent, or 1 a Battle VIP Pass, things like that. Then we have 1 copy of Hyper Potion. And because we run the double turbo energies, maybe you attach 1 active. There's a V-Star Power to take a big 1 shot, and you can just like, because you don't really need that double turbo energy anymore after that, you can just Hyper Potion it off, which is kind of funny and pretty good too, especially in combination with the tanking from the Deoxys VMAX. So Hyper Potion with the double turbo energies, just really, really solid card. Then we have 1 copy of Switch. So basically 3 switch shouts, or actually 4 because we do play an air balloon. So 4 switch shouts, 2 escape rope, switch, and an air balloon. That switch is just for the times we might not want to escape rope because our opponent has active what we want them to have active. Then we have 1 copy of Tool Scrapper to remove Big Charms, because obviously Big Charms can get in the way of our 220 plus 60 math on our Deoxys V-Star. And we do have to like air balloon a Deoxys V to retreat it. That means we're not going to have room for a choice belt on it, so we can Tool Scrapper actually our own air balloon to make room for a choice belt, things like that. Speaking of choice belt, we have a full 4 choice belt, which might seem a little strange, but we really, really want to be able to find our choice belts, because choice belts is just so important to our math in this deck. We want to have a choice belt on every single Deoxys V-Star we're attacking with, and the 4 plus the Oranguru V will help us find those. Then we have 1 copy of Herballoon, like I mentioned, to aid in switching. And we have 1 copy of another new card, Camo Poncho, which says the Pokemon V-Star or VMAX this card is attached to isn't affected by your opponent's supporter cards. I believe it also, I forgot to type that in, but it should say benched. Pokemon V-Star or VMAX, I'm pretty sure, isn't affected by supporter cards. So obviously there's 1 giant card that this is helping you defend against, and that's going to be Boss. You can stick this onto your Deoxys VMAX if, once again, having it during 30 HP 3-prizer will be an issue in the matchup. So you can just pop that on there, and now it can't be Boss. So it's basically just sitting there, making you take 30 less damage from attacks from V-Stars. Once again, if you need to go like the Diancie route to recover more energy, but you have the Deoxys V-Star in play, you can just like Tool Scrapper, Choice Belt, attach Camo Poncho, there you go. Now that thing can't be bossed. Just plays like that. Camo Poncho is just really, really good for. And it's a nice little one of item that, once again, can be found with the Oranguru V when you need it. Then we have 2 copies of Double Turbo Energy, like I mentioned, to attack with the Deoxys VMAX, and to power up that VSTAR Power, so you can be hitting really, really hard with the VSTAR Power. Also, once again, useful with the Hyper Potion. Then, Psychic Energy, we have 5 Psychic, 10 basic Psychic Energy. So, 10 and the 2 Fog Crystals hopefully will be enough to help you, or to let you find those energies on turn 1. And that's the list. Honestly, I think Deoxys V-Star has some potential. It just seems like just a really, really solid card. The numbers are there. The one-shot potential is good, as we've just seen in the past with like Whimsicott. And yeah, that's gonna do it for the video, guys. If you guys liked it, don't forget to leave a like. If you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. I do videos like this all the time. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Hope you guys like that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.